Hi everyone, welcome to iMotor's online lessons. My name is Malecia and I come from Muizenberg.
And my name is Marlin and I come from Capricorn, which is also in Muizenberg.
Today we're going down to the ocean to meet some new plants and animals, and we think we might just convince you that these are some of the toughest creatures on the planet.
After we've introduced you to the rocky shores, we want you to feel comfortable enough to do these three things. First, explain what an ecosystem is and where to find the rocky shore.
Second, talk about some of the fabulous ways the rocky shore animals survive in their unusual home.
And third, understand why the rocky shores are such important places in our oceans.
How many of you have gone exploring on the beach? Do you love playing in the sand? Have any of you seen anything that looks a bit like this?
Exploring rock pools is a real adventure. Did you know that while you're hopping from one rock to another, there are proper soap opera style dramas going on with the tiny animals living their big lives on those rocks and in those pools?
Rock pools are also really special places on our coastline because they are marine protected areas. You'll learn all about marine protected areas in our next lesson. But these are places where plants and animals are protected so that we can make sure they're still there for future generations.
Hang on, so this isn't the beach. Is a rocky shore different from the sandy part?
Well, the rocky shore might become a sandy beach as you walk further and further away from the ocean towards the land.
Just like we get sandy beach ecosystems where special animals have learned to live in that specific place, we also get rocky shores. The rocky shore is where the ocean meets the land.
Life on the rocky shores is all about ocean tides. At high tide, the rocky shore becomes completely covered by water, and then at low tide, they're almost completely dry. What do you think this means for the animals and plants living there? Think about the fact that most animals found here would have gills to breathe underwater, or be an ocean animal that we usually think should be wet.
But the rocky shores that I've seen have areas of flat rock, bits of rock that rise up like little mountains, and little rock pools. Do all the same animals live everywhere on the rocky shores?
Great question. That's exactly how to think of the rocky shores. Different plants and animals live on the dry rocks further up on the beach than the other ones who live close to the ocean edge. But all the plants and animals that live here between the high tides and low tides, and so they're very used to their homes changing dramatically twice a day.
That must be so weird. Underwater part of the day and in open air the other part.
Yep, and because they live between the high tide and the low tide mark, the animals found on the rocky shores need to protect themselves from drying out during low tide. At low tide, they're exposed to the heat from the sun, predators that can easily see them, and as the water in the rock pools start to evaporate, the animals swimming in the rock pools find their homes get shallower and more salty.
We talked about evaporation in lesson 1, eh? When the sun heats the water up and it turns into a gas, so there's less water in the rock pool and more in the air.
That's it. During high tide though, these same animals need to be able to protect themselves from the crashing waves and new ocean predators. But the high tide brings them fresh oxygen and food.
You've got to be a pretty rockstar animal to be tough enough to live in such an extreme place. We should call these animals the Rocky Shore Rockstars.
Rocky Shore Rockstar number 1 is, drumroll please, the clipfish. These small fish are camouflaged, which means their color helps them blend in with the rocks and the seaweed in the rock pools on the rocky shore. When the tide is low, rock pools can start to dry out and the water level in these mini pools get low enough for predators like seagulls to see fish to hunt. But not the clipfish. They're hidden by their smart camouflage. They can also jump from rock pool to rock pool if the water level gets too low.
No way, that's so cool.
It really is.
Rocky Shore Rockstar number 2 is a bit of a prickly character. Sea urchins are like the porcupines or hedgehogs of the rocky shore. Have you ever touched one before? These little animals use their sharp spikes, which we call spines, to protect themselves from predators. You might also see their teeny tiny feet pull small pieces of seashells on top of their spikes, like little hats to protect themselves from the sun.
Nowadays, you'll see a lot of sea urchins grabbing plastic and rubbish by mistake, using that as a hat instead.
That's not good.
I know, isn't it sad? Do you remember we learnt about marine pollution in lesson 2? Well, let these little sea urchins with their horrible hats be a reminder to never ever litter and to try and clean up our beaches whenever you can. The porcupines of the Rockpools look a lot prettier with their seashell hats.
Ready for Rocky Shore Rockstar number 3? It has terrible table manners. Sea stars are actually cousins of the sea urchins. If we look in Cape Town's False Bay Rockpools, for example, we'll find 3 different types of sea star. The Spiny Sea Star, the Red Sea Star, and the Cushion Star. The Spiny Sea Star is a predator, which means it hunts smaller animals to eat in the rock pools. When it catches its prey, it does something completely amazing and totally gross.
Ah, what is it?
It pushes its stomach out through its mouth and slowly dissolves its food before slurping it all back in, like a sea smoothie.
Ew, gross.
I know. The Red Sea Star is what is called a detritivore. This means they eat whatever is left behind by other animals, like hyenas and vultures on land. And the Cushion Star is a herbivore, and it eats algae, the plants on the rocks.
Our Rocky Shore Rockstar number 4 is a magician and a real-life celebrity. Octopuses have 8 tentacles, 3 hearts and 9 brains. This must just be the most brilliant brainiac on the Rocky Shore. And they're able to camouflage themselves to hide among the rocks and seaweed. If they found hiding, they have other brilliant strategies to avoid capture. They move very fast and can release a big cloud of ink that confuses the other animals, usually a little shark trying to hunt it. This gives the octopus time to escape. Now, we say that the octopus is a real-life celebrity because the octopus in Cape Town's False Bay were actually featured in 2 movies.
No way! Which ones?
Blue Planet 2 and My Octopus Teacher.
Ooh, I'm going to watch them.
Don't forget to invite me.
Finally, Rocky Shore Rockstar number 5 loves being at home sweet home. Polycriacal snails grow slowly, but they can get very big. These amazing sea snails are able to survive outside of the water for up to 2 days. They do this because they use a trapdoor to seal themselves inside the shell with a small amount of water. This animal is often collected by people gathering food from the ocean, like we talked about in lesson 1. But because it takes so long for them to grow big enough to make more baby polycriacals, there are rules that say people can only collect 5 of these snails a day. And they can't collect snails that are smaller than 6 centimeters.
Wow, there sure are a lot of rock stars in the Rocky Shore.
They are, aren't they? Do you think that the next time you visit the Rocky Shore, you might look at its animals a little differently?
The Rocky Shore is such a magical place. You can take walks along the shore at low tide and carefully climb from rock to rock looking for interesting creatures. Or find a rock pool and spend a few minutes watching all the animals moving around it.
If you're lucky, maybe you'll see an octopus hunting. Or if you're very patient, you might see a clipfish jumping from pool to pool.
It's really important to remember to respect the animals that you find on the rocky shores and leave them alone to carry on living their lives without handling them, taking them out of the water or removing them from the beach.
But that doesn't mean you can't have fun and explore.
Let's recap what we've learnt in this lesson. First, we learnt that the rocky shores are ecosystems controlled by the ocean tides.
Second, the animals and the plants on the rocky shores can cope with being very dry, and they are often camouflaged to hide from predators during low tide. They're also able to cling onto the rocks at high tide when waves come crashing in to bring fresh oxygen and new food.
And finally, we rely on the rocky shores to gather food like polycriacals and to find enjoyment in their beauty. But we have to treat them with respect and use them responsibly.
We want to make sure that the tough animals and plants that live there will still be there when your children visit, and your grandchildren, and their children.
forever.
Now, for today's activity, we want you to choose your favorite Rocky Show rock star and draw it. Take a look at each of the animals and choose your favorite. Then draw it in your notebook. Let's see if one of the 5 rock stars has more fans than the others.
We hope you've enjoyed our iMotor online lessons on the Rocky shows, and we hope to see you soon. Please feel free to leave a comment and subscribe to our channel for more.
Bye for now.